When looking for a place to rent, it's essential to establish a reasonable rent budget. The 30% guideline is a useful tool for determining the amount you should spend on rent. The 30% rule of thumb stipulates that you should not spend more than 30% of your monthly income on housing expenses. This approach ensures that you have enough money to cover other living costs and work towards your financial objectives. To apply this rule to your budget, you need to determine how much 30% of your monthly income is and use it as a basis for your rental costs. Welcome to Money Mindset, where we provide educational resources on money, personal finance, and investing. In this video, you will find out more about how the 30% rule of thumb works for rent and how to incorporate it into your budget. If you're serious about enhancing your financial future, make sure to hit the subscribe button and like this video if it was helpful to you. The origins of the 30% rule of thumb for rent can be traced back to the National Housing Act of 1937. This legislation introduced the public housing program for low-income households and established maximum rent guidelines. Over time, the original maximum rent threshold has gradually increased from 20% of income to 25% and then to 30% in 1981. Today, this amount remains the standard for most public housing programs and is generally used as a benchmark for determining how much one should spend on rent at various income levels. It's worth noting that the 30% rule applies only to rent and doesn't include other essential housing costs, such as utilities or renter's insurance. Additionally, mortgage lenders have a different threshold for determining borrowers' eligibility, with a combined monthly housing and debt payment cap of 43% of their income. The 30% rule of thumb for rent is straightforward. Your monthly rent payment should not exceed 30% of your gross monthly income. To determine your maximum rent budget, multiply your gross income by 30%. For instance, if your gross monthly income is $5,000, the highest amount you should spend on rent is $1,500. 30% of $5,000 is $1,500. By adhering to this rule, you'll have 70% of your gross monthly income left to cover other essential expenses such as utilities and food, discretionary spending, debt repayment, and savings. This principle stems from the rental affordability standards outlined in National Housing Guidelines. The 30% rule of thumb for determining how much of your income to spend on rent has two significant drawbacks. Firstly, it fails to consider inflation, income stagnation, or rising rental prices, which can skew the affordability of a given rental property. For instance, according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, the median household income for U.S. renters was $42,500 in 2019. However, data from Rent.com shows that the average rent for a two-bedroom apartment in the U.S. had increased to $2,047 as of June 2022. Applying the 30% rule, renters within this income range would be limited to spending no more than $1,062.50 on rent each month, which may not be feasible. Secondly, the 30% rule doesn't provide a personalized solution for individual circumstances. It fails to take into account factors such as student loan or credit card debt, tax obligations, income levels, financial objectives, and the rental market's affordability in a particular location. As an example, the Federal Reserve's data from 2019 indicates that the typical monthly student loan payment was between $200 and $299, while the average starting salary for a college graduate was $53,889. Assuming a 30% rule for rent, you would allocate $1,347 per month for rent. After subtracting $299 for your monthly student loan payment, you would have about $2,844 per month remaining. However, this is based on gross income before taxes. For instance, as a single individual earning $53,889 in 2021, you would be in the 22% tax bracket, resulting in a take-home pay of about $3,733 per month. After accounting for 30% for rent and $299 for student loans, you would have approximately $2,314 left. This is over $500 less than what you had based on your gross income. When you factor in additional expenses such as transportation, health care, insurance, food, clothing, and utilities, that remaining money can quickly disappear. On the other hand, let's say you are a high-income earner making $250,000 a year. In that case, considering federal income taxes, the 30% rule would suggest spending about $4,172 per month, or $50,068 per year, on rent. While you could certainly afford that, if your goal is to save as much money as possible, such as for early retirement, you may want to spend less on rent. Comparing rent rule of thumb and the 50-30-20 rule. When it comes to budgeting for rent, there's more than one approach to consider. The 30% rule of thumb isn't the only option. One alternative is the 50-30-20 rule. The 50-30-20 budgeting rule is a simple concept: divide your income into 3 categories. 50% for needs such as housing, utilities, food, and transportation. 30% for wants such as entertainment, dining out, and shopping. 20% for savings and debt repayment. While the 50-30-20 rule doesn't give a specific recommendation for rent, it can help you establish general guidelines for spending on essentials versus discretionary items. For example, if your monthly take-home pay is $4,000, you should allocate no more than $2,000 or 50% to necessities like rent and utilities. You can then spend $1,200 or 30% on wants and $800 or 20% for savings and paying off debts. Your financial situation should dictate whether you use the 30% rule or the 50-30-20 rule. If you don't have any debt, you may be able to afford more than 30% of your monthly income on rent. But if you're in a housing market with high rent prices, paying more may be unavoidable. If you're looking to minimize your monthly rent payments to save for future financial goals or pay off debts, consider comparing the 30% rule and the 50-30-20 rule for your situation. By doing so, you can make informed decisions about how to budget for your housing expenses and maximize your savings potential.